Over time, I mean, I've really gone through different setups and different sizes where, maybe I'll use a 8-inch, 10-inch combo, which is a little bit smaller than this, or maybe I'll use a 16-inch floor tom and an 18-inch floor tom. And really, again, it's all preference. Each kind of drum has a different feel to it. It really does. And you should experiment, I think, with, if you have the ability to, with every different size you can find, because different drum sizes, different drums in general will inspire you to play a certain way. And I think that's a lot of the fun of what we do. I mean, these things are fun to hit, and they inspire you to have your artistic side come out, hopefully, based on the way they feel and the way they look and how they inspire you, basically. So I think it's good to experiment with that. But for me, I think I've found my comfort zone, at least, in these fairly close setups, which would be 10, 12, 14, 16, 22-inch diameter kick drum, like we said, the 6x14 snare. So I have a specific feel, and I think now, because of what I wanted to go for feel-wise, we've been able to really identify the kind of real scientific approach to getting the sound so it's consistent every show or every time we're in the studio. And as far as the cymbals, obviously we've gone through quite a extensive cymbal selection process for both our live sound and the studio sound. So
it's been like an iterative process. We've tried so many different approaches, and
it changes still all the time based on where we are and the rooms we're going into. But I use Meinl cymbals, and Meinl offers such a great variety of different kinds of sounds. If you want a darker cymbal, they have something that's going to be great for you no matter what the size or the type of cymbal. If you want something that's a little bit brighter or something that's a little bit more kind of dry versus, I don't know, really bright, you can find what you want. We've typically worked with darker cymbals, drier cymbals in the past, and really that whole process started because when we were performing live, a lot of times we would be the opening band, and we'd be on the front of the stage with my singer right in front of me, and with really bright cymbals and big cymbals, they would bleed into the microphone, which would be kind of challenging for our sound engineer and Spencer,
and they bleed into
singer.
the microphones on the kit as well. Not just, it's terrible in the vocal mic, but they're everywhere.
Sure, right, exactly. So we experimented in a live setting with a lot more dry cymbals, which would decay a little bit quicker and wouldn't kind of have those same overtones. They were smaller sometimes in diameter than what we would be using, or what I would maybe choose to use if I could use anything I wanted based on the sound of the band. But we've sort of settled, at least I think now, on a very specific setup that's fairly consistent. Over here on my left side, I'm using the 14-inch medium hi-hats. They're the Byzance series by Meinl. They're nice and bright, but they also have a really nice chick to it when you use your left foot, and I keep a lot of time that way. So having a very distinctive sound there that really cuts through, and some versatility with the actual hats is great. And I think with hi-hats, like you said, it's really important. The relationship between the snare and the hi-hat is great.
In the studio,
you really want to find something that I think does allow each piece of the kit to have its own sound and almost fit into the mix nicely, where you can hear them both and they don't bleed together much.
There's always a trade-off between like the best sounding cymbal and the volume of the cymbal. And in general, for studio stuff, we try to go thinner if we can, but if you go too thin with the cymbals, they start to get really trashy sounding.
Sure.
The thinner the cymbal, generally the lower the pitch, which is also nice. It brings down the brightness level a little bit.
Yeah.
But really big, heavy cymbals tend to be a no-no in the studio. They're just going to be so bright and loud on top of everything.
And specifically with talking about thinner cymbals, the crashes are both thinner variations of the Byzance traditional cymbals. This is a 18-inch thin crash, and I believe this is a 19-inch medium thin crash. You guys will get to hear them a little bit later, but they're nice because, as Nolly said, they're a little bit lower in tone. They still have a very nice sustain to them, especially when you play them rather lightly. I think if you bash any cymbal, you're not going to get the best tone out of it that you could. So it's important to learn how to, in the right way, finesse the cymbal so that you're getting it to sort of sing. I guess that's the word I would use to describe it. You want to allow the cymbal to really resonate in a way that it makes the colors come out in the music. It's the colors of the drum set, in my opinion. So the crashes tend to be a little bit more, I don't know, darker sounding, but still have that shimmer to them. That's why we go this way. Rather than going very dark, which is what we've done here for the ride cymbal, which is a dark ride specifically. It's just got a much more kind of, in comparison to anything else in the kit, it'll be a much lower kind of sound. dark is really the best way to describe it. It even looks darker, physically from appearance.
That ride also has a really great sounding bell, and that's one of the main reasons why we use that.
Yeah,
it's got it's kind of like the metal style bell, but it's not a cheap sounding, like super pingy kind of sound.
Sure. And the stack here, so a stack is basically two cymbals put on top of each other to make kind of a trashy sound that could be resemblant of a hi-hat setup, but it's more so used as an effect cymbal, or even almost like what a China cymbal would be. But with this, I've figured out two different ways to do it. This method is taking a 18-inch China cymbal, a dark China, similar to this dark cymbal here, flipping it over and laying a actually very thin jazz light medium crash on top of that. So you get this nice balance of very light thin with very dark, and you get this really kind of nice contrast between the two of them. It works really well, and you can flip them different ways. And
I think trashes are always a case of experimentation. Like, it's very difficult to predict what
yeah.
you're going to get.
I mean, even just the tension itself can change it drastically. So it's really just been a lot of experimentation with that. And then lastly, the China that we're using it's actually a little bit different than what I may use live. This is a 20-inch Byzance, just traditional China, but I really also like the extra dry Chinas. They have a really nice sound. We've used different ones in different recording processes.
We use those on Juggernaut. I think they're amazing sounding Chinas. I find in the studio it's really nice to have a family resemblance between the crashes and the Chinas, though. They seem to balance better in volume, and it just means that the overheads can do minimal amount of work just to level out all the cymbals, and you get a really nice spread of even sounding cymbals.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So it changes all the time, but I think for this session, it's pretty consistent to what we've been working with both live and in studio since Juggernaut. So
awesome.